I'm Meredith with ExtremeTerrain, and in this episode of Jeep News, we are talking about the Easter Jeep Safari concepts that Jeep has wowed us with, as well as what Jim Morrison, head of Jeep, had to say when it comes to the new electrified concepts and vehicles, as well as the nostalgic lineup. To stay in the loop when it comes to Jeep News, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can stay up to date on everything Jeep, and of course, all of the products that we review and install here. Now, nonetheless, Jeep is back at it again, and this time at the New York Auto Show, boasting some of the awesome things that they're doing with our beloved brand, and this time it looks a little bit different. Now, you heard from Jim talk about a whole new wave of electrified vehicles and concepts for the Jeep brand, with their goal being the leading green SUV brand and also moving into the luxury market. Now, we saw the new Grand Cherokee being released in the spring, which is a full plug-in hybrid with 56 miles per gallon, 375 horsepower, and 475 pound-feet of torque, and they introduced the high altitude model with all of the black accenting, which is of course a huge fan favorite. They also talked about the hybrid electric and e-save options that you'll get in these vehicles, just like the Terrain Select, and a little bit about the Quadra light air suspension, which I think is pretty interesting. Not to mention, we're seeing a bit of nostalgia with the Wagoneer and Wagoneer L, which is their premium extension of the Jeep brand. Now, what's very impressive is the 10,000 pound pulling capacity when it comes to towing, the 7 to 8 seat configurations, and of course the new motors that are going to be available in the Wagoneer and Wagoneer L. Now, we got a little taste of the Hurricane motor that we'll see in both of those models, but I'm really hoping to see it go across some other models in the Jeep family, including the Wrangler. Now, the Hurricane is what we saw in the Willys when it came out with its inline 4-cylinder, but times have obviously changed, and the motor will be an inline 6 direct injection twin turbo motor, which is a huge step up from the previous inlines and 6 cylinders. Now, it will also offer more fuel efficiency, but it's going to increase that horsepower and torque significantly to 510 horsepower and 500 pound-feet of torque. Now, I'm really looking forward to the future with this motor, and again, hopefully sharing this option with other Jeep models. Now, it's something that I can see moving over to Wrangler for an option if you're looking for a little bit more than the 6-cylinder motor, but you don't want to go over the top with the 392. Now, Jim has also mentioned and gone over all of the concepts that they brought to Easter Jeep Safari, which I am most excited to talk about, with 7 new Jeep concepts from Jeep's design team, and 4 of those being electrified, 3 of them being electric Wranglers. I really want to dive into the concepts of the Wranglers that were introduced, because Jeep is really driving home the goal to be the greenest SUV brand, and in my opinion, I think that with the way the world is moving, that we're definitely hitting the nail on the head when it comes to these concepts. Now, a lot of people were on the fence about the 4xe when it was introduced, but the Jeep brand is keeping very true to their roots, as you'll see with these concepts, even if it is moving towards a cleaner version. But first up on the list is the Magneto 2.0, which is a battery electric 2-door Wrangler with double peak amperage, allowing instant delivery of 625 horsepower and 850 pound-feet of peak torque, thanks to the 4 lithium-ion batteries. Now, this is basically just going to be a boost of amperage, which will be maintained for up to 10 seconds, resulting in a 0 to 60 time that defeats the V8s and is rumored to be around 2 seconds, which is actually insane. Now, this will also keep true to some of those loyalties with a 6-speed manual transmission that will be beefed up to handle that extra power. Not to mention, this thing looks great with the Surf Blue, which is definitely an attention grabber, while it also sits on 37s with beadlock wheels. Now, what I think is pretty cool about this model is the wheelbase is actually a little bit longer, which we are also very familiar with because of the LJ Wrangler from 2004 to 2006. Not to mention, this thing has a Dynotrack 60 Pro Rock front axle and 80 Pro Rock rear axle, which is insane again, but in my opinion, it's definitely not over the top considering the horsepower and torque of this powertrain. Now, if this is the way that we're moving when it comes to customization with electric Wranglers, then I definitely think we can all agree that we'll be following it. Now, we also got to see the nostalgic Jeep 41 concept, bringing up the Jeep heritage with the military style build, and to follow the Jeep's green approach, no pun intended, this will also be a plug-in hybrid, but will pay homage to the Willys with the throwback styling. This will be wrapped in an olive drab with tan accents, including the soft top as well as the interior. Now, I think what stands out most, aside from the military style decals and the half doors, is the olive green military style wheels that just add the cherry on top. Now, those will be wrapped in a 35-inch BF Goodrich mud-terrain tire, all while being lifted on 2 inches of JPP suspension, giving this thing the capability it needs to really honor the Willys and where Jeep came from. Jeep also introduced the Rubicon 20 anniversary concept. Now, anniversary Wranglers are always included in their lineup, so it's no surprise here that for 2023 we're getting another one. Now, the 20th anniversary concept is absolutely stunning in my opinion, with the base of it being the Rubicon 392, which will have that 6.4 liter V8 straight from the factory. You'll also see gold accenting all around the Rubicon, and of course all of the Rubicon accessories that you would want out of a Wrangler. Now that includes the ruby rails, those large mud terrain tires, and a beautiful factory beadlock, and also the iconic red interior. This will also feature Jeep's Power Top, all wrapped in a granite crystal for an incredibly sleek and well-deserved look when it comes to the Rubicon, and I really hope they put this one in production for those Rubicon fans. Now we can't forget about the Eco Diesel. Jeep has brought the Bob concept on a Gladiator, and to no surprise they have modified the bed and cut a foot off, giving it a shorter concept. Now this Bob Gladiator is going to be called that because the bobbing is actually going to be reduced on the trail by minimizing that bed length. This concept also completely got rid of the B-pillars, will have a custom perforated hardtop, and is covered in a stretched canvas, giving the open air and freedom feel that Jeep always speaks about. Not to mention, this thing is lifted on 3 inches with king coilovers and bypass shocks for smooth and confident handling, while also boasting a Dyno-Track Pro Rock 60 axle on both the front and the back, and on the end will be 40-inch tires mounted on a 20-inch orange beadlock wheel. Now, if you're a fan of orange and a Gladiator that maneuvers like a two-door Wrangler, this concept is definitely for you. Now, the Jeep Decoder is probably one of the most decked out Gladiators that you'll see in this lineup of concepts. This thing is littered with QR codes that represent all of the JPP and Mopar accessories that are used in the build itself. Now, this Gladiator is quite literally a rolling catalog. This build will be on a black Gladiator, and all of those accessories that were added and coated will be in a maraschino red. Now, this Decoder sits on a 2-inch lift, beadlock wheels, and 37-inch tires. This is basically a rolling bolt-on machine with everything that you would want out of Jeep mods for the Gladiator, including bumpers, tube doors, a snorkel, wheels, armor, and even a catback exhaust system. Now, the last electrified Wrangler in the lineup is the Jeep Birdcage. This is going to have an eagle brown exterior and tobacco leaf and cocoa leather interior, and is accented with the iconic electric surf blue, which surprisingly works very well with the earth tones. Now, this will sit on 17-inch beadlock wheels wrapped in a 37 km3 mud terrain tire and a 2-inch lift, which is actually completely retuned when it comes to the suspension. Now, complementing the suspension, you're getting a ton of clearance in those wheel wells thanks to a factory style flat flare, and that is going to include Jeep's OEM daytime running lights. Now, I do really like those fenders, and I hope those go into production as far as a Jeep mod is concerned, as well as a couple other things on this Wrangler. Now, the interior will also include the Armor Light vinyl flooring for easy cleanup, which I'm sure you'll need after a day of off-roading, and an add a trunk concept deck lid panel, adding some secure storage, which is definitely needed considering that this thing has no top. Now, this will also feature a Rhino rack basket on top and an instrument panel accessory rail, which is very similar to what we saw on the Bronco, all while deleting the top and the windshield. Now, what's very notable about this is the front bumper. Now, that's going to mount into the grille, and there's going to be a winch cutout in the grille itself, all while having a little bit of a redesign to those iconic 7 slots. And that's the other thing that I was talking about, hopefully coming into production when it comes to Jeep mods, because even though we are keeping all of those things that we love about the Jeep, we are just upgrading it that much more, and that's what these concepts are all about. Now, Easter, Jeep Safari, and Jeep themselves definitely keep us on our toes when it comes to their ideas and what we're looking at when moving forward in a newly electric world. Now, let me know your opinions, what you guys think about the electrified vehicles and the electric concepts, and if you're trading in your Wrangler for a Wagoneer. Just kidding, but for everything Jeep, always keep it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.